All right, welcome to Tuesday. Um, just a couple announcements. Last Thursday, we had Federated Insurance here with their presentation, and I kind of encourage you to come there. I'm kind of disappointed in you all. We had 3 students show up and we had 6 pizzas. So the student to pizza ratio was not optimal. We sent pizzas home with students and that sort of stuff. So we'll try to do better next time. And again, a lot of these employers are just looking to talk to any students and see how they go. So it was disappointing, but that's okay. It wasn't your fault. It's my fault. I should have forced you to go, not made it optional. We'll work on better enticements next time. Speaking of which, I am looking for a couple volunteers on tomorrow, Wednesday at 11:30. We've got a group of high school students, small group from McGregor here. We're going to use these little Sphero robots. I don't know if you've been involved in the activities where we do Sphero robots, but we just use little block programming on tablets to the students program them. We start with curling, and then we try to maybe do a maze or something like that, depending on how far we go. So we'll just do an activity with Sphero robots tomorrow with the students. I'm looking for just 1 or 2 volunteers. It'll be in the security lab. There's a little sign up sheet. You can sign up if you want to just help with that tomorrow here. Okay. I'll just warn you, we're getting into the 6th week of class. We're kind of getting into this rhythm, and I always think we kind of get into this doldrum, and it's just cold outside, and it's winter still, and we're just grinding through this course and stuff like that, and it gets kind of tiring after a while there. And so you think so I like to change it up. I'm changing it up just for you, not for me, not because I want to change it up or anything like that. I'm changing up just for you to learn at a different rate or try it out. So again, I don't know if any of your other professors start changing things up about this time in the course, but I tend to do this in a number of my courses just to, again, it's nice to get in our rhythm. We found a rhythm now. We're just going to adjust it a little bit. Some of it's going to stay the same. Some of it's going to tweak. So today, for our exercise, we'll do a little different activity. Much of this we're still on Thursday. We'll still do our lab and work through our lab as normal here. We'll work through that here for that. And I don't have the unit 6 activities up. I'll add those. I've got to kind of work with how far we get today with the exercise with those. As far as the readings go, we're into chapter 5 of our textbook here. Talks about hardware, software interface, how hardware and software kind of talk to each other. We start very low level with below the operating system, and then we start this week moving up to the operating system and talk about what is an operating system and how that works. So in the textbook, that's this chapter 5 here. At this lowest level, we have some low-level software, and we usually call these device drivers that are the kind of interface between the physical hardware and the higher level software to provide some unified access to that. So like an example would be like a mouse here. Different manufacturers make different mice at speed that work different ways and and you can have a mouse. You can also there are different physical formats for mice, and there are actually different things, scroll things that you can use instead of mice and that sort of stuff. But we want them all kind of to work the same way, to scroll left and right and to have some sort of clicking ability on them there. Now, some mice will come with 2 buttons, 3 buttons. Some have a scroll window or scroll wheel on it. And some will have a scroll wheel you can also click as a button. there, but not always. You don't always have three, a middle button you can click. You don't, there's different mice out there. What there is there's an interface like that Windows defines for a mouse there that you, if you're making a device, you want to satisfy that. And so you want to write a device driver that'll translate your specific hardware into Windows and fit. And so once it works with Windows and Windows recognizes it, it can work with any program under Windows, basically. So you don't have to program your device for every possible program out there. You only have to program it in for Windows, for the operating system, and then it should work for all the software that runs under Windows here. So the device driver is this software that runs at that level for this. And so whenever you're working with software, you'll see that. And sometimes you probably don't notice it until you have some problems with a device driver. And then you'll be going, again, you can look for device drivers here. Go to the device manager. Oh, I see. And I don't know. That's the problem with these machines. I can't even bring up device manager. That's why I was remembering I did do that. So we have these machines locked down, but I can't even bring up the device manager. Oh, I guess I can. I just can't probably make any changes to it. So here's the device manager. And I can see like, where's my pointing devices here? Well, like here's my keyboards and the keyboard device. Here's my mice and other pointing devices here for this. I can look at any of these devices. And again, there'll be a driver, some software that'll be used to run this device for this. So that's the lowest level actually communicating with the hardware here. And again, usually aren't getting into this unless, I mean, it used to be more common. You would get some new hardware, like you buy a new mouse or a little drive or a new thing, you'd plug it in and then you have to install the software. So often they'd send you software on a disk or a CD, you plug that in for your new printer and have to install the device drivers here. Nowadays, Windows has generic drivers for a lot of things. So a lot of things you don't need specific device drivers for. And then a lot of them Windows will automatically download the device driver for you if it needs something specific. So it's pretty rare. I mean, can you think of anything that you have bought that you plugged in that you'd had to then install software to use? Any sort of hardware device that you'd had to install the software for it?
A GPU.
What?
GPU.
Okay, a GPU, like NVIDIA or something like that?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, some of the GPUs will have some stuff, particularly NVIDIA has a whole suite of software you generally install with the GPU. That's a good point. Any other ones?
Old iPods.
Old iPods. Yeah, right. I can see that. You're trying to access them on Windows or on an Apple?
I don't remember.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Remember with iPods, you had to run software for those. Yep. So, okay, so that's device drivers. And they talk about some different ports here. And again, we talked about these PCI device drivers where we plug in some boards into these big form computers. We get into BIOS here. Now, I'm not going to lecture today on a lot of this stuff. Instead, we're going to do this new activity. So again, there's BIOS, which is this low-level stuff for booting your computer and loading up the operating system here. A new version of BIOS is called UEFI, Unified Extension Firmware Interface, new version of BIOS here. And again, there's some bootloaders related to this. They talk about the boot process. It used to be there on your hard drive, there was something called the master boot record, and we would go to that on any computer. It would load up the operating system from the master boot record. That's largely going away, but old people like me still talk about it as if there was a master boot record on hard drives. They're usually not, it's not actually there, but I still kind of think of them that way here. And there's, again, these different ways these systems boot. So I'm going to have you do some research on these different things. And then we're gonna eventually get up to operating system. So what I want you to do is on unit 6, scroll down to the unit 6 exercise and click on the directions. So this is the unit 6 directions, and we're going to spend some time on part 1 here for this. And then we're going to try to run some virtual machines here in different ways. I'm not sure. I'm hoping we can at least get part 1 and 2 done today. We'll see how far we get and what we move into the lab or the exercise. So again, go to the exercise, open the directions up, go here. Under part 1, we want to do this answer image quote exercise. So what I've taken is the different topics that are in the chapter: device drivers, BIOS, power on self-test, UEIF, these sorts of stuff. I've got 9 different topics. And what I want, and I got those all listed down below. There's a couple questions on each topic. There's an image spot for images and a spot for a quote here. And I've assigned everyone to different things. So you want to find your name here and see. So like Ryder, here you want to find an image of BIOS here. And then you're going to go down here where BIOS is topic 2. So you're going to scroll down to topic 2 where the image is, and you're going to paste the image there. And besides Ryder, who else? Sister Joanna, you are also assigned image for BIOS. So you're also going to find a image of BIOS. You're going to post it in the same location. So if Ryder's already posted one, just post it below and vice versa. So you're both going to post an image of BIOS. It'd be nice if you found different images. Really handy there. Okay, so our job is everyone's going to find their names, what they've been assigned to. If you need an answer, select one or more of these questions and find an answer. You're free to use AI for that sort of stuff. An image, a quote. Again, you can use Google to look up the quote. Quotes can also be from AI. So if you want just information about this or whatever, just something related from this here. So just start filling these all in for this stuff and see how it goes. Questions on this? Okay, so we're all going to work asynchronously on this, and we should start seeing this document fill up with stuff. And again, don't make your own copy. We're all doing this on our own shared copy. So they're all the stuff that should be together. Everyone can edit this document. Try not to delete the whole document or anything like that if you have too much power. Online students, again, you and asynchronous students, you'll be assigned to different things here. So again, when this will remain open, just go through, find what you're assigned to, and edit that and do that here. I will be looking through this and seeing how that everyone did their part as far as the scoring goes for this. Okay, let's pause. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some highlights here. If you're still working on this, that's fine. You can still work on it, but I'm just going to highlight certain things. Again, a number of these things will be blank because we have a number of asynchronous online students there. So that I was just thinking, I don't think our asynchronous students are used to know what the class. Let's see, just real quick. There. Okay, let's see if I can share this with the class. So again, online asynchronous students, here's your class, the synchronous class. They're kind of fuzzy today. There, it's a little better. So they're all here in person working on this stuff. So let's go back and share the screen. Okay. We mentioned device drivers. That's the first topic. I like some of these pictures Again, device drivers sitting between hardware and the software are here. Device drivers sitting below the operating system here, and then the user and the software above that. Those are good stuff. And again, good, put our definitions here. Device driver, specialized software that allow programs, computer operating system to communicate with specific hardware devices. So that's good. BIOS here, again, basic input output system initializes the hardware and loads the operating system when the computer starts. That's a good definition of BIOS. Here's a good picture. Again, on most computers today, you can you can hit some key combination when you're starting up to get into BIOS mode before you load the operating system. And there are some times when you want to do some configuration that you have to do it. So you might have to be holding down F11 or something. Usually F11. Yeah, F11 F2. Right, yeah. To get into BIOS configurations. So that's probably where you've seen it. I believe like my Android phone, I can get it into BIOS mode also, or at least one of my Android phones. I can boot into BIOS mode. But then I got that phone's been unlocked and stuff. So again, some good. I don't know if I was interesting. I was wondering if people would find for images for BIOS. I was hoping something to show where it is in here, but this looks like a good, a low level stuff. Almost looks computer generated, so that's fine. Power on self-test. The post thing is when computers are starting up here, and what happens when the computers start up there. So I'm interested to see. The quote is just about failing. I like that. Because again, almost only time you're getting into problems with post is again when your computer is not starting up, and that's always an issue. Like again, you turn the power on and nothing happens. The screen. How do you figure out where what is going on, and can you determine if it's even doing this sort of stuff? UEFI is the new version of BIOS here. Unified extensible firmware interface here. And again, on computers, you often see what you can boot up in this. And so some people still call this BIOS, even though it's just a replacement for BIOS. So often you won't notice one or the other here. This is used now more often when a lot of our computers are much more secure. It used to be that, 10 years ago, if I had physical access to a computer, I could get full access to the computer. If you gave me an actual laptop, I don't care what you had as far as operating system, hard drive, I could get access to everything by going in, changing the BIOS or taking out the hard drive, putting it in another computer, doing things like that. Again, when you're troubleshooting, I have I think it's a Windows 7. That's how old it is. A Windows 7 boot drive, little flash drive that I could stick in any computer and boot and just hold on the key so it would boot from the drive and it'll boot my operating system in there, and then I could troubleshoot that computer and stuff like that. So again, it used to be if you had physical access to the computer, you could get access to it, basically everything on the computer. Again, once I'm booted in my own operating system and I load the drive up, I don't care what user rights you had set up on your operating system. I'm running my operating system now, and so I can access all the stuff on that computer there. But nowadays, computers are much more secure all the way down to the BIOS there. So again, often the hard drive is encrypted and by the BIOS and stuff like that. So even if I have physical access, if I pull that hard drive out and put it in a different computer, I can't read it because the whole hard drive is encrypted and I don't have the encryption key for that. And often that encryption or the Windows installation, I can't reinstall over that hard drive because again, the way it's booted or what way it's set up, there's a number of protections there. So today's physical computers often are a lot more secure than they were 10 years ago. And one of it is this new BIOS versions that lets us have better control over hard drives and security, and especially encryption at the machine level for this. So again, yeah, better, faster boot times, but also this better security is a big feature of this. So here's our master boot record sort of stuff. And again, this has largely been replaced these days, but again, we still often talk about this here. And there are different ways of setting up a boot table or where you're booting from. So like this partition is how we're often doing the booting for these devices. Now we're kind of looking at, so once we get, let me come back to here. Once we get to the operating system, so by default, you're running just one operating system on your computer here, but often you want to run different operating systems on here. Now there's a couple ways of doing that. You can run emulated operating systems on your computer, and we'll talk about that later on, but you can also set up, there's some advantages of booting up your operating system at the lowest level so it has direct access to the hardware. So, but again, like we have a laptop that we use for controlling some other little robots, and it has to be booted to run the robot system into a Linux and Ubuntu operating system. So it boots in there, but we also sometimes want to use that for other things. So it also boots into Windows. So this laptop dual boots between these things. So again, often in a lot of operating or a lot of places you can have some sort of dual boot or ways of doing what is called a boot loader, where you can load different operating systems at a time. So it's trying to show you maybe that you load, I love some of these computer generated images. Here, like for Raspberry Pi, you can load in a couple different operating systems and then dual boot between them here. We'll see that more when the final project comes, because some of you are going to want to boot your Raspberry Pi and do something called RetroPie, which is an operating system Raspberry Pi just for running retro gaming systems. So it's a whole operating system for that. There's actually a number of operating systems to run camera security systems. So you might want to install that. So some of the stuff will install a whole operating system at the lowest level and some software on top of that for Raspberry Pi. So you might want to just do a dual boot so that you can choose which of these operating systems you want to install when you start up your computer. And again, Windows is similar. You can do dual boot with Windows here also. So, okay, I'm going to leave this again. I will look at this later on, by Sunday, because again, the asynchronous students won't get access or won't be able to finish this up till later. I'll look at this on Sunday and we'll be able to see. And again, one thing's nice about this is I can actually go to the version history and I can see everyone's edits on this, and that everyone is editing this and who does what. So there's some cool features with version history that I can look at with this. So that's nice. Okay, I'm going to close this and go back to the exercise here and work on this. I think we're going to try to work through part 2 today and make part 3 and 4 optional. So I've added those in here. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go through parts 3 and 4 in front of you so you can see it, but I'm not going to have you necessarily do it. And we'll talk about why when we get to that. But let's start with this. So again, in our book, we're talking about operating systems and how we want to run this. So we want to run an operating system here, but today, a lot of the times you don't talk about getting a physical computer and installing an operating system on the computer. Instead, you talk about getting a virtual machine somewhere and installing and bringing up a virtual machine. So if I need to run Linux on some things, I will run a virtual machine and install Linux on that. Now, there are different ways of running things on a cloud you can just run little functions or little subcomponents or little images. We're going to talk today about running full operating systems. So we're going to spin up an actual machine with hardware, a virtual machine, and install and get a virtual or an operating system like Windows installed on it. Today, we're just going to look at Windows on this, and then in a lab on Thursday, we're going to install Linux on a number of virtual machines. So we're going to do it today, but we'll do the similar stuff on Thursday, but we'll do Linux machines on Thursday. So today we're just going to try to take Windows machines here. So we're going to start with part 2. And again, I want you to work through this too. This is part of administering Azure sort of learning path that you can work on, but we're just doing this one part of this. And we want you to get done with this and do a screenshot. So we're going to click on this, create a virtual machine in Azure. You probably want to sign in because you want to, eventually you will have to sign in. So I'm going to just click sign in. You can use your school ID. Oops, for that and get myself logged in here. So again, we're at part 2, right here, complete the create Windows virtual machine using Azure module. We're going to click on that. We're going to log in and get that up here. Now this says it's going to take us 51 minutes, so we better get going. Okay, and again, this is the exercise. We're just going to work through this. Much of it is in this. We're going to actually, we might not get to this second exercise. I really want to get to this first exercise. So let's do the introduction. So again, kind of tells you what you need before that. So you don't need a whole lot. We're walking you through this here. We will be connecting to it with a remote desktop, hopefully. So, and we have software set up to do that. Okay. So I'm going to go, I've already completed this. So I'm going to go to the next version. And again, on mine, I can click on the top here and do the next version up here. But again, mine are already checked. I think if yours aren't checked, you can just say next module down here. I don't know. Okay, so part 2, what is a virtual machine? So again, we're going to start up, Azure is Microsoft's cloud structure here. And so, and a virtual machine, also called a VM, is what we're doing this here. There are different kind of underlying structures for this. We're using something called Hyper-V for running that. That's not that important here, but just so if sometimes you hear that. We'll create it and we'll look at 2 interfaces, command line interface, a CLI. And again, that's similar to Windows here, where I would say command, and I would just get this command line interface. So sometimes that's enough and not good. Remember last week or the week before, we learned some command line tools. So then when we start up a virtual machine, we can just type in some command line tools here and do things. So one thing we'll be working as a command line tools. The other thing would be to actually bring up a virtual desktop where we can see this, and we'll look at this remote desktop protocol so that we can, it'll look just like this machine. I often get in trouble because like I'll be home. I once spent 2 hours at home and I was virtual machined into my machine at work. After virtual machine, you know, and so, and it fills up, I run it full screen, so it looks like the whole screen. And I was on my laptop, and I had downloaded earlier in the day a bunch of files for this class, and I could not find them. And I was searching everywhere. I re-downloaded the whole, and then after like 2 hours of just trying to figure out what was going on, it finally occurred to me that even though I was on my laptop, I was virtual machined into my work laptop, and the actual machine, you know, the actual files were on my laptop, not my work computer. And so again, you can set this up and do remote desktop so that it looks just like you are, you know, remote on that machine. It'll look exactly enough to, you know, where you will forget. I often forget which machine I'm physically at sometimes when you do this. So, okay. So again, it just explains, there's a lot of different machine types you can create here. And this uses resources. We're going to choose a virtual machine image. Here we have to choose the size. So like the CPU power, the amount of memory, the amount of disk space we have to do. And again, depending on what you want to do for a business, you want to choose that because again, you won't be charged for this. It's all be free. But if you're running a business, you'll be charged for the size. Different computers will have different amounts, different memory you'll pay extra for, different hard drive space you'll pay extra for here. There are lots of choices, so there's some general guidelines out there. So sizes like B, DV, DSV2, these are common computers. Heavy computers are more FS sort of stuff. Large memory are these models. Data storage are these ones. So again, there are so many options they've tried to. This is supposed to make it simpler to you to try to figure out all their sizes here. And again, storage options, disks, how many disks you want, managed or unmanaged disks. So is it a disk that they already have set up and installed the basic configuration for, or is it basically a blank disk and you're going to partition it and manage it the way you want to do it for that? And again, then we have to set up network communication. So I have to do all this. It's actually a lot easier than it seems for the basic stuff. So, okay, we're going to go to our next. If I hit complete module, does that get me the next one? No. See, because I've already done this all. So I have to go. I'm going to go to X. We're going to do the exercise here. Now, so it doesn't charge you for this. It's going to create a sandbox testing area for you that's free of charge. So you'll have about an hour in this free testing zone for us to use there. But it looks like I have to verify my account. So match the number of rocks with the number. There. Okay. See if I get it right. All right. Okay. Why isn't my permissions working? I think this is making progress. We'll see how it goes. So again, what this is doing is creating a virtual machine or a sandbox workspace that's going to be free of charge. So it creates a fake account for you and fake structures, and you have some fake stuff here. So a bunch of fake stuff under your name, but again, it's in a sandbox, so it'll automatically be destroyed and you won't get charged for any of this. So again, sandbox, after I went through, I did have to click on permissions and say okay to some permission stuff. I did have to make sure I'm logged in up here for this. And I have one of 10 sandboxes today. So that should be fine. I'm only going to use this one. And I have it for an hour, 60 minutes now. And so hopefully we should be able to easily get this done in an hour here. So now that we've got that, so were you able to get this sandbox up and running? See some nods, right? So, okay, we're going to go down here. We're going to create a virtual machine. We're going to sign into the Azure portal. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to open it up in a new tab, I think. Oh. I'm going to have it text me a phone. So again, they added this authentication recently, so I'm just going to put in my phone number. and have them send me a code, I guess. There, so now I got my code. One of the reasons I liked Microsoft was it was a lot easier for students to use. Hopefully we can still use this without too much trouble. They are making it looks like a little harder for us to use. Okay, so up here it shows I'm logged in. It's also showing Microsoft Learn Sandbox. So it shows that I'm in my sandbox up here because I actually have a full Microsoft account. So I want to make sure I'm doing it in here. So it is showing my sandbox here. So again, see if you can get this Azure portal up and running for this. And then we're going to try to work through and configure this virtual machine. I'll walk around and see how you're doing. If you want to get started, you can kind of look through this next part that'll show how to configure stuff here. We're going to go to virtual machines and we're going to create one there in just a sec. Okay, I'm going to pause this and see how everyone's doing. So again, we're trying to create a virtual machine here. So you can actually create one of these sandboxes and play with lots of other things with Azure. So if you ever want to just try things out, a sandbox, you can actually go through one of these tutorials. And at this point, you could do any of this other stuff too. But they don't care. The sandbox is going away. But again, they give you free access to Azure for the sandbox, but you don't get 10 sandboxes a day. So we're going to do a virtual machine. So I'm going to go to virtual machine and I'm going to create a virtual machine. We're going to create an Azure virtual machine. I think that's the one we want. Okay. So here's my create virtual machine. And again, this should match this instruction. So again, create virtual machine. This kind of shows you and walks you through this, but I'm just going to walk you through the same way kind of. So subscription. You should get the free subscription. Make sure you're under the free subscription because you don't want to get charged. So that's the concierge subscription here. That's what we want for that. And then for our resource group, it should start with a learn here. Again, if you're doing your own thing, what you do is you create like different accounts or groups, and you want, often for like different clients, and you say, I want everything charged, all this stuff charged to this account and this stuff charged to a different account and that sort of stuff. But you can set all this up. But again, here we're just under this one subscription and only one resource group, and it should always start with learn here because you're in this learning sandbox. We're going to give the machine a name. Tom window. Oops, I can't have spaces. Tom Windows. Can't have underlines. And I have a dash. Windows. Okay. Region is what part of the world you want this hosted in here. I'm going to switch this to North Central US, which is kind of us. There's West Coast, East Coast. And again, often if you're running a global, you have people all over the world and they're connecting to your app or doing stuff, you might want servers all over the world that they can connect to easily. So you could have one in Australia, another one in Korea, another one in India, stuff like that here, because then the closer they are, the faster the connections are to them. But we're just going to do North Central US. It doesn't matter. We could leave it at West too. So, okay. So how are we doing here? Okay, we want to set up a small disk and a standard size CPU here. So again, first we're going to try, so we're going to switch the image from Ubuntu to Windows Server here. So we're going to switch this to our small disk Windows Server option here. Again, and on Thursday, we'll create a Ubuntu Linux machine also for that. A lot of times, if you're setting up like a web server or something like that, you'll set up a Linux machine. They're cheaper to run and operate, and a lot of the server software is configured and the configurations are built for those machines already. Windows is nice, but there's a good reason for running Ubuntu or Linux on a lot of other machines. So again, we switched the image to small disk Windows. The processor we're not too concerned about. And the size, again, we can choose different sizes. I'm just going to show you, see all sizes so we can see. So here's the different kinds of sizes that are out here. There are different series of computers, different number of virtual CPUs, how much RAM, how many flops, how much local storage, what's the disk. And here's the cost per monthly. So a lot of these are going to cost you like $100 a month, and some of them are going to cost more, $200 a month. Some of them are only going to cost you $10 a month. Now, again, that's why we're running in a sandbox, so you don't get charged for anything right now. So just so you know, I'm going to close this and go back and just select the standard size here. One CPU, 3.5 gigabytes of memory. It will charge us, again, about $100 a month if we weren't in this stuff. Well, no, actually, this one is, again, yeah, so about 2 cents an hour is what it's charging us at for this. And again, you can set some maximum price so you don't go over some values and stuff like that. We want to set up a username for this here that we can log in, and you should probably just write this down, just make up a silly username and write it down. I'm just going to use my P. Gibbons name because that's what I'm used to. Can contain special, must not do any users and a password, CIS 2011. Now I'm going to open up a little notepad so I can keep track of this. So I'm using T. Gibbons as my password and Saints at CSS. I'm going to put a 4 in there because it looks like I need a number there. I need more characters, actually. Saints at CSS. There. Okay. So again, I like to just maybe note the password because we're going to want to use that later on here, and then just temporarily here. Okay. Now we've reviewed that. This walks you through some of this different options as far as the ports, and next we're going to go to the disks and look at that. So again, I could actually, we're not going to modify it. I don't think the disk cell, we could hit review and create, but I wanted to show you some of the review things. Oh, also make sure the inbound ports allowed selected ports. We want to allow the remote desktop port here, and I actually like secure shell as a port going into this. So, but we certainly want the remote desktop port, and that should be open by default at port 3389. So just, we're using remote desktop port 3389. Okay, so now I'm going to go on the disks. And again, there's a size for this. As far as this goes, you can do different size disks. The default for this image is a 30 gigabyte drive, locally redundant storage. So the question is, where is the storage and how is it spread out over the world and stuff like that? And do you want to, when you delete the virtual machine, you want to delete this disk drive also. So again, most of this will just be the default configurations here. Same with networking. We can set up networking. There's a virtual network, a subnet. And again, we're not going to talk too much about the network configuration here. We're just going to do that. And some management issues. Again, there's lots of stuff. And when I get after the first page, I just usually hit review and create. I'm just showing you that there are these other pages. So you can just hit review. So we're not going to change anything on how it's managed. What does it auto shut down at some points? Do we automatically update it? Stuff like that. There's monitoring and advanced stuff. So I'm just going to now hit review and create. So it'll show me an estimate. So basically, I created a standard DS1 V2 model by Microsoft. It's going to cost me this much per hour to run if I wasn't in a sandbox. We have enabled these ports. Here's my subscription. There's machine name. I'm going to put that over here also. For this stuff, and again, just does this now. What do I have to? Yeah, that's okay. All validation failed here to view the details. Oh, so it says I can't start this in my North Central region, it looks like. So I'm going to have to go in and change that. So I'm going to go back to the basics, change this from North Central back to US West. And then I shouldn't have just changed that. And then hit create and review. Why is that not available? DSV1 here. Let me try. Oops.
Exercise at the bottom of the basic stuff. It tells you what regions you are allowed to pick.
Okay.
There's only 10 you can pick.
Oh, okay. Let's try this again. Okay, so we did this as Windows small disks. My username, my password. So where were you saying that it shows regions?
Exercise.
Oh, an exercise. Oh, yeah. West US 2. And they were doing the small disk. They're doing a different image. Did you switch that? No. Yeah, data set. So we're going to leave that. And we're going to try the US West. From the following list to create your resources. US West 2. I don't see US West 2. How about East 2? Did anyone find a
West 2 is at the top.
was it? Oh. Yeah, okay. US West 2. Okay, good. That's what it says. We can use. Okay, so I'm going to switch the region to US West 2. And then again, we're at the small disk stuff. Let's see if we review and create, if we'll be happier now. Yay, validation passed. Now we can hit create. So now it'll create this virtual machine, install Windows on it, bring it up and configure it. So it'll take a while for this to run and do for this. So I'm going to, while this is running, again, deployment is in progress. I'm going to go back up here and check our exercise. So again, we configured the virtual machine, configured the network, finished this. But now let's see if what we can do with that virtual machine. So we're going to go on to 4, where we're going to try to use remote desktop protocol to connect up to this. So what is the remote desktop protocol? Remote desktop protocol is a way we connect to virtual machines. We can connect in Windows. It's built in. You can install it in Mac OS, iOS, Android. You can actually have use your phone to connect to a remote machine. So I've actually at times been somewhere and had to connect to a remote machine and just used it on a little Windows machine, used it on this. It's really hard to run a whole Windows machine on a little screen like this, but you can do that. So you can set up a remote stuff. So again, we enabled remote desktop connected here, and now we're going to do it. We're going to run this remote protocol. Let's just see how we're doing. So deployment is now complete here. So this is our subscription. This is our resource group. We can go to this resource. If I go to this resource, it'll be now, it'll show this virtual machine and details of it. Now, if I'm at home now, I should see my virtual machines created. So here's my virtual machine created here. I can also go there. So, and it gets me the same spot from home. So here's my virtual machine. And again, from here, I can have some interactions with it. I can see its address, its public IP address here. I can see the operating system it's running for this stuff. And I can... So there's also a command line interface here. So this, you see this CLI here. I can click on that and open up a command line interface. And again, this will be, I think this is an Azure command line interface. Oops, that's just telling me how to do. Oh, so I thought I could open a command line interface right to the machine. I don't use these Windows machines very much. So, okay, well, let's not worry about the command line interface. Let's try to get our remote desktop running onto this. So again, we're going to run remote desktop here. So we're going to connect to this machine here. With this, we need to download this RDP file. So if we go into our Azure, and I think it's under Connect, I can download the RDP file for this machine. So again, go into the machine, open up Connect, click on Connect within that, and then download this file here. And now we're going to run remote desktop on here. So if you just start typing, if you go click on the Windows and start typing remote desktop connection should be available here. And Um, okay, let's start by just connecting up directly to this. So I'm going to grab my IP address and put that in here. And the username is the username I created. So mine was T Gibbons here. And I'm going to try to connect to that. And now it asks me for my password, and I'm going to paste in my password in here. And again, I can remember this. This is just temporary, so I don't not. So warned you that we can't verify things. You want, is that okay? I'm going to say yes. And now I'll be running this virtual machine interface. Let's wait for it to come up here. On this stuff. So again, this is running Windows Server. So Windows Server doesn't have we often don't run a GUI like you would in on normal Windows, like Windows Home or something like that. But now I have a nice command line interface to this. Again, we'll see when we connect other machines, or like if we were to install a virtual machine that's running Windows Home, you'd actually see the environment here. But here I can do commands like dir to do a directory. It looks just like my drive here. I have a documents folder. I can CD into documents and do dir to see what files are there for this. So again, it's a pretty simple interface for this. Windows people, I'm not sure. I mean, Zoom people, I'm not sure. Hopefully you can still see this all with my shared screen. I'm not quite sure when I do remote desktops if this all shows up here. Let me run this in a window, and then I think you will be able to certainly see this. I'm going to close this connection here. Oops. Let's see if there's anything. I was wondering if we need to finish up exercise. Okay. Oh, here's our exercise. So there's 32 minutes left. Download. Oh yeah. So I'm at unit 5, which is the exercise portion of this. So here we're downloading the RDP file. We're connecting to Windows. We're running the remote desktop connection here. So again, I thought I'm going to disconnect and try to do that a connection because I didn't use my file here, and I thought I'm going to read these instructions. I thought there was a way to yeah, so down here, connection settings, I can open our file. So I can open the RDP file here and bring it up, and it'll fill in the necessarily stuff for that. So again, when you're running remote desktop and you've downloaded the file, you can just hit open down to connection settings and then open up the RDP file and then do connect that way. I still have to type in my password. It looks like. Okay, I'm going to switch this so it's running in a window here also. Okay, again, first time running this in Run Server Manager here. You can install custom software for this here. For this, let's see if I'm not seeing my start menu down here. I'm not sure why it's not showing me a start menu down here with it just showing me the console window. May have been the server image we selected for this. Uh, is this what everyone else is getting, I think? Yeah. Yeah, you're getting the whole server manager dashboard. You are too. Did I select the wrong image for this? I don't think I changed the image type. So, well, I think you should be able, you should see more of a Windows interface, the start menu. I'm not sure why I'm just getting this command line interface here. But you should be able to bring up the file manager and install stuff. The disks should be initialized automatically for you. But again, if you purchase new additional virtual storage, you can initialize those as you go here. So, and again, I can go back here and check my status of this. And again, see what this virtual machine is. Now, a couple things I can do with this virtual machine is I can stop and restart it, just like you're rebooting a virtual machine. I can also delete it if need be. So you can you can restart this machine just like a stuff. You can also delete it here. You'll generally be charged as long as this machine is running here. I think if you stop it, you won't be charged for this. And certainly when you delete it, it won't. Now you have to make sure when you delete this, it also creates some associated storage. So if I go back at the home here, with this, if I hit see all, well, I thought it would show me under this device, it created some other storage, a virtual disk. Okay, but I'm going to go in and delete this now. And again, I'm just in a sandbox, so it would delete itself anyway after just a few minutes. So again, it's deleting the operating system and the network interface, the public IP address, all that stuff is going to be deleted for this. And again, you don't really have to worry about this because you're in a sandbox and you won't be charged with it. But if you're ever working outside of a sandbox for a company or something like that, you do have to be kind of careful of this. I think it was this summer I worked on some project and with AWS and set up some resources. And then for 3 months this fall, I had a 50-cent reoccurring charge on my credit card, which wouldn't be a big deal, except it was my business credit card. So every month, if I have to go through and find a receipt and fill out this paperwork, because every time I spend something for the college, I have to justify and explain it. And so for 3 months, I had this reoccurring 50 cents. I kept looking at AWS and all the different things and I thought I had everything disabled. I finally, working with AWS, found this database, SQL database that was created as part of this other thing that was still up and running, and that was charging me this 50 cents a month. So again, you do kind of have to watch this sort of stuff. And you can actually get significant charges if you're not careful. Okay, so as far as you go, I think you just have to, I want a summary of this, answer the questions, get your results, and you can paste that back here for this. So again, you can make a copy of this exercise and submit it, or just paste this, or just get this final certificate that you're done and submit that. While you're here, I'm gonna walk you through some of these other options just to show you what these other places look at. So I'm gonna go to AWS first and try to create an AWS virtual machine, which is called an Elastic Computing EC2 device here. I got to log in as my root user, which isn't a great thing, but So again, this kind of talks to you. There's some guides out there for doing this. So this is AWS, and again, it will look very similar, I think, to, I mean, I don't know. They're all kind of, there's a dashboard here with different things you can do. You can see what instances of virtual machines you have running for this. I can launch. So the other one, I created an instance. I can launch an instance here. I'm going to launch an instance. I'm going to give it some name. So again, we'll do the same name here. Here. I can run different versions of Linux or Windows. I'm going to run Windows in this case. There are different types of Windows that I can choose. Oh, there's now a free. There used to be not a free. Oops. Yeah, I don't think. Let's switch back to Windows. So there used to not be a free tier eligible Windows, but now there are a number of those. So that's good. So I can run different, again, there's different versions of Windows, and some of them are in the free tier. So I'm just going to do Windows Server 2025 base free tier. So again, that shouldn't charge me for this because again, this is actually running on the college credit card. So I don't want to get charged for this. Again, instance types here. There's nano and instance small. And again, there's lots of different versions of it going up to, memory, like this large number of CPUs, 140 gigabytes of memory for these sort of stuff. So there are just, tons and tons of different configurations here. I'm going to stick to this micro version. So 2 CPUs and 1 gig of memory here. So generally it'll cost me 2 cents an hour to run this stuff. Now, yeah. So let's just do that. Key pair, let's see. Again, that's where you download some software to connect up to this. I'm going to try to do this without it here. Network setting, again, it should create a network for you. It should let you do remote desktop here, and you can actually choose where from. So you could say, like if you're only going to be at St. Scholastica, I could configure this. So I'm only connecting from like my address or 143.110. So anywhere at St. Scholastica or something that I could connect to this, or this is set up to be anywhere for this. Storage, this is creating, again, just like the other one, a 30 gig hard drive that's free eligible for this. So again, I can go in and do more configurations, but I'm just going to hit launch instance. One thing I'll warn you is your free tier only goes for your first year with AWS. I'm past my first year, so I don't actually get this for free. So let's see if I launch this. Oops. Virtual PC. Yeah, okay. I'm actually not going to do this, I don't think, because again, I need to connect a virtual PC add subnet network and subnet and stuff and go through and move that. And again, if I was in my free version, if I was a student and still in my free version, I would certainly do this. Again, create new, and a auto assigned public address should be enabled here for this. But again, I don't want to do that because I'm not on the free tier right now. But then it hit launch. And again, I create this. And again, I'd be able to connect to it with RPC again. Where was that configuration? So yeah, RPD connection should be enabled already for this and on the same port. So then once I get it set up, I'll be given an IP address and I can just use this to connect up to it again. So again, different but very similar. Let's look at Google's version and see kind of the same thing. Now, I thought you could do the Google stuff for free as a student, but it seems like that's not off case. So you might want to try this if you go to this create. We're trying to do this. You can request some quick lab credits. But my feeling, what I found before with those credits, they don't actually help with this sort of credits here. So I'm logged in. I'm going to follow this and guide me instructions. It's going to bring me to the Google Cloud Console. I'm going to create a new VM. So again, up here, create VM or create instance. And again, it should bring me all these choices again. And again, now we have AI to help us if we want. So here's the name. So again, I could put in my own name here. Regions, again, as zones if I want here. So the closest regions, Iowa. General purpose computing for this stuff. Amount of memory for this stuff, So again, I can choose micro, small, or medium. So number of CPUs, amount of memory. So this is 1 gig of memory, 1 core here, or yeah, I guess it's variable cores here. So again, I'm sharing, I guess this is a shared core where I'm just sharing this memory here. And again, it's going to estimate how much it's going to cost. It's about 2 cents an hour. Now, these are all competing places, and notice that they all cost almost exactly the same here. So for some of the basic configuration, you may compare, you'll see similar prices. All of them are about 2 cents an hour to run one of these computers out there for this. So we can set this up and yeah, I didn't choose my image. It's running Linux here. I'm going to change this to run Windows server. So now, again, to run Windows Server at Google, it's going to be about 5 cents an hour. So about at least twice as much to run Windows as it is to run a Linux stuff here. So again, I could set this up. I can hit start. Well, or I can hit create to create this virtual machine and start it up and run it here. Again, I'm not on a free level right now with this. There's no sandbox or whatever. And my problem is on both AWS and Google, they already have my credit card. I've used up free subscription. Usually when you first use these, you could probably do some of this for free with these things for the first year or something like that. But I can't because I already have accounts and they already have my credit card. I've already paid for this sort of stuff. So they want me to pay again. So I'm not going to finish this up here either for this. But again, all very similar. You define your virtual machine and you set it up and you run it, and then you can connect to it there. And on Thursday, we'll do the same thing, but we'll do it for our Linux machines and do that with Linux stuff. Okay. Questions on this? No, yet. So you can get additional free stuff, at least, and I haven't checked it this year. In the past, you can go to Azure for students and get free credits for stuff. So you can do that to get $100, but you don't have to. But if you do that, use your CSS ID so that they know you're a student. So again, if you want to be playing around with this stuff for more, there. I believe there's something similar for, again, I've struggled with Google. With Google before, I've had to apply for the whole class and put in everyone's name and get these credits. But last year I did all that work and then we still couldn't use the credits with Google. I think there's, with AWS, I don't think there's a student tier, but again, as a first-time user, I think you get a free tier on AWS for a whole year. So, and with whatever email account you use that. In fact, for AWS, I just switched to a different email address, so I'm using free tier for another project for AWS just to try out some things. So I know you can do that because I've just done that with a non-CSS account. But this is for students. So yeah, you don't have to create email. Anything else? Okay, so all I want is you to finish the Azure stuff. At the end, you select something, you get your results, whatever, and you should show somehow that you finished this up. Okay. All right. See you on Thursday.